Hello and welcome to the live stream. Today we're going to be talking about YouTube channel growth and in particular things that I think that have helped me with growing my channel. Now, I'm not really comparing myself to anyone else in terms of whether I've done this quickly or slowly or anything like that, but there are certain things as I was sort of reflecting on the YouTube journey so far, thinking about things that had a positive impact on this process. So I'll be talking about that. I'll talk about some different sort of stages of my channel that I've been through since starting out, and then also what's to come for next year. Really, this is why I've been reflecting on this over the past couple of weeks or so, just thinking about the plans for the future. And so this is where this has all come from. Hey Neil, great to see you here, by the way. Thanks for stopping by. Can't wait to see what's coming with your channel now that you're in full steam ahead with everything. So be looking forward to watching your growth too. So let's start then with talking about when I started my channel, what I think sort of helped to sort of grow it from zero. I was starting with zero, and I did have an existing sort of database of potential contacts who may well have found my channel interesting, and I've always thought about YouTube as being sort of an inbound marketing tool from that point of view. However, I was very particular about not actually telling anyone about the channel or not actually promoting it in any other way except the things that I was doing with the channel itself, because it was also an experiment in sort of channel growth itself. So every week I would do my weekly live stream at this same time. However, in the sort of beginning, my weekly live stream was really more of, or the way that I saw it, was more of a sort of check-in to sort of update people on, how the channel was growing, progress, and that sort of thing. Because in the beginning, and this is one of the first things that I think sort of helped with the growth, is that I set myself this challenge of doing 100 videos in 100 days. And why did I do that? Well, it was Doc Rock who mentioned that you shouldn't really take a look at your analytics before you've got 100 videos under your belt, because you won't have any sort of meaningful data. So that's why I set that as a target. Then I extended that out to 365 videos in a year, and that didn't quite go to plan. I fell a little bit short of that, but nevertheless, it was having that sort of goal in mind that sort of drove me to sort of be creating content on a regular basis. So, as I say, the weekly live streams were always a sort of more of a sort of check-in. I did have a sort of topic cut to cover as well, but the beginning of them was always sort of checking in with progress and in some ways, bringing people along on that journey with me as well. So the first thing then that I think that has actually influenced the sort of channel growth then would have been that initial burst of putting in the reps, putting in a lot of time well, I say a lot of time. It was 2 hours a day basically was the time that I'd allotted for it, but putting out a lot of content. And that's not to say that you've got to put out a video a day, but I was quite particular about sticking to that. So having a specific goal and setting a goal and trying to stick to it is something that's going to help, whatever that is, whether it's a video a week, a couple of videos a week, or whatever, but just having that regular posting. What I'm doing right now at the moment, I consider it not consistent. I am doing this regular weekly live stream. Most weeks. There are some weeks that I miss it, but I'm not doing my long form content on my channel as I used to do, but I'll get back to that a little bit later. But certainly giving myself that sort of head start with getting a lot of videos out there meant that there was obviously more things on my channel. It wasn't just a case of one video every week or every month or so on. So then obviously it's going to take a while for people to start watching your other videos and for the sort of momentum to grow. So the first thing would be just being consistent and then putting out as much content as you can actually get the time to do. The other thing, though, that was a massive driver, and I would argue really not that I'm arguing with anyone, but I would argue that this is probably the main thing, was that I was really active in a particular community, and it was the Ecamm Live community. Of course, anybody who's followed my channel will know that the majority of my content in the beginning was actually Ecamm Live content. Now, it wasn't intended to be that way, actually. When I started my channel, it was a test bed for me to practice this process of making all of my videos in one take with no edits, sort of live to tape, as it were. And I was originally going to cover the sort of tech tools that I use in my day-to-day in my other work, so the sort of productivity tools and things like that I use on my computer. As it happens, the tool that I found to make these videos with, Ecamm Live, and also the Stream Deck, the hardware that I was using in conjunction with that, I was just absolutely fascinated and blown away by their capabilities, and really became very quickly a super fanboy of these two things. And so that's why the videos all ended up, or a large proportion of the videos ended up being about Ecamm and Stream Deck, just because it is still to this day something that I'm so enthusiastic about. And so that's what I was, was top of my mind. And so that was the content I was making. But a side benefit of that was that, as I say, because I was so active in the Ecamm community as a learner, being in there to figure out how to do things, then it meant that it was also giving sort of input to me in terms of, questions that other people were asking. And so I was only really sharing, things that I'd just discovered. It wasn't like, when I was making so many Ecamm videos. I haven't made one for a while. I tend to do the major updates now, but I haven't made a sort of dedicated specific Ecamm video for a while. But it wasn't like I'd got years of experience of doing that and was then suddenly, just sharing these years of wisdom. Ecamm was, relatively new to me at the time, and I was sort of sharing things that I'd discovered as I'd gone along. So, this is a kind of side thing. Don't think that you need to be, the world's greatest expert in something to make videos about it. You're always just sort of sharing whatever bits of knowledge you've gleaned, and there'll be always someone who will benefit from that. But coming back to the community side of things, though, it's a great place for ideation, because you're getting all of these different things from seeing different comments, seeing different questions that people are posing, and so often what would happen is somebody would ask a question, and I would just go and make the video to answer the question, and then I'd post that to my channel, and obviously post it as a reply into the group as well. So that community side of things, though, it meant that I became somewhat of one of the many group experts there that could answer questions, and so that drove people to the channel, obviously, and I'm sure that drove the channel growth quite a lot. So being an active member of a community is a great way to and to be there, to be helpful, to want to help people, and take the help yourself as well, and be open to that. Is certainly a great way, whatever field it's in, whatever field your channel is in, looking to be active to sort of get to know people, and for people to get to know you like that is always a great thing. Another thing that definitely really helped me, and I'll have to mention this, I did a whole live stream about this last week, TubeBuddy. I really have used TubeBuddy since the very first day that I was on YouTube. In fact, I signed up to it before then to help me with the setup of my channel, and it really did help with the process of uploading, the find and replace and various other different things, these other different tools that I've had that have helped, I think, with the channel growth in many respects, because the channel grows when you've got good, well-crafted descriptions, titles, and all of that. And I'm not saying that mine are perfect by any stretch, and I'm sure there are far greater experts on this subject than me, but TubeBuddy, certainly in the beginning, did help me with all of that stuff, and since has helped me with a whole load of other things that no doubt have helped with the channel growth. For example, talking about the split testing, for example. I talked about this last week. I won't go into another whole TubeBuddy thing, but split testing thumbnails to find out which are getting the better click-through rates. All of these things are going to really sort of help to impact, the number of people that are clicking through onto your videos and the channel growth and so on. There is, thanks, Rich. I've just noticed Rich has dropped the link down in the chat, and it's also in the description as well. But TubeBuddy at the moment, I've got a sale, 40% off through Black Friday. All you need to do is click that link, and you'll see that there's a big coupon code right at the top. There's 2 levels now. There used to be 3, I think, but there is basically a starter and legend level. I highly recommend the legend because that's the one that I use, and it gives you access to basically all of the features, so the find and replace, so the split testing and all of that kind of stuff. However, if you're just starting out, what I did was I started on the starter one, because that's going to give you all the stuff that you need when you're just starting your channel. So I do definitely attribute my growth to TubeBuddy. The other thing I like about TubeBuddy is the little milestone things that you get when you hit a particular milestone, that you get this nice little thing to post on social media, and it's always nice to get those. And I don't post them as regularly now. I used to be posting every 10 subscribers, so no, I don't do quite that much, but it's nice to see that growth and to sort of track it. So the next thing then that had a massive impact would definitely be mentoring and support. So being part of a mentoring group, being part of a coaching group, really helped, because when we're doing these things, it's often something that might feel a little bit lonely when you are creating your YouTube content. If you're just doing it in isolation on your own and having to figure everything out. Whereas being part of a mentoring group or some sort of structured support group can be a really great thing, because obviously you then have you can ask the questions, you can get your questions answered from people who have been and done that, trodden that path before. But you also get to learn sort of vicariously through all the questions that other people are asking as well. So very often there might be questions that you might not have even thought to ask, and yet it comes up in one of the sessions, and then suddenly you're getting to learn from all of that knowledge. So being part of a supportive group is a great way to sort of accelerate growth in whatever it is you're doing. I mean, that's part of the reason why I set up the Take One Tech Academy as well, is because I wanted to be able to provide that to other people. With all the resources that I've in there, so I've got my Ecamm Live Masterclass, Stream Deck, Rodecaster, Keynote Masterclasses as well. Also added in my YouTube Beginner's Guide and Discord Beginner's Guide, and there's more to come as well. So I should mention that if you're interested, go and check out takeonetech.io/academy. And in there, as I say, you'll find a link to all the different things that includes. But the point is, as well as obviously all the courses and more courses being added soon, all of the masterclasses that you get access to, there is also monthly workshops. So these are sort of deep dives on specific topics. So there's a number of those in there, past workshops, and there's more to come. So those are every month just for Academy members. And then there's also sort of accelerator courses, which are the cohort-based courses. This is something for next year that I'm going to be doing a lot more of these. I've only actually done the Kajabi one earlier on this year, and that will be rerunning again in January, followed by these other ones throughout the year as well. The other thing, though, is the group coaching, and that is really where I see the biggest value, is where you've got a group of people coming together, can get their questions answered, but also, as I say, learn from the questions that other people are asking. But again, it's not just about asking me questions. It's about all of the shared knowledge and wisdom that we've got among us as well. So being a part of a structured group like that is something that I can highly recommend. I should mention as well that I've got a Cyber weekend or Black Friday deal going on at the moment, and I thought I'd just mention it right now because it is technically there, the coupon code. I haven't sort of put out any social media stuff about this, but it is there technically for you to take advantage of. So the coupon code is Friday23. Actually, no space in that. Friday23, and that will give you 30% off all of the courses and also all of my icon packs. With the Academy, what I've done with that is it's 30% off the sort of first payment, whether that is on a monthly plan or an annual plan, just so that there's always this thing with software as a service or subscriptions where you need to be conscious about the existing members and so on. So that's how that works. Basically, it's 30% off all of my courses or 30% off the initial payment for either a subscription of a annual or monthly plan for the Academy. Incidentally, I should just mention as well, coming back to the Academy, that the way that this works is there are two different tiers. Basically, well, there's actually three. The professional and premium. The professional gives you access to all of those online courses and also the monthly workshops. The premium is the one that's going to include those weekly Q&As and some of those other in-person or rather live workshops and live courses, I should say, are in there. If you're interested in sort of one-to-one coaching, though, on an ongoing basis, including all of those other things, then you can also look at the elite coaching level. So that's where we have sort of dedicated one-to-one time each week, and that is the flexible depending on how much time and attention that you need. So anyway, you can check those out, and as I say, Friday 23 is the code to get 30% off there. But yeah, certainly being a part of a mentoring group or having a support group is something that really just rocketed my journey along, and that was at the time, so that was with Doc Rock as well. When I was looking to start my YouTube channel, I came across Doc Rock, and he always ended his videos with, "I'm Doc Rock, your content creation coach." And I believed him, and he certainly did a great job and lived up to that expectation. So I joined his Let's Get Live group, and it was fantastic to have those weekly meetings to just sort of learn from all of the other great folks in that group as well. So I should say definitely check out Doc Rock's stuff as well if anybody's at that point. So that is the mentoring and support side of things. Another thing that played a sort of role in this, though, was collaborations. So collaborations and guest appearances. So I was on a number of different podcasts, number of different people's live streams. And what that does is it obviously gets you out in front of an extended audience. So it's, putting yourself out, getting yourself known outside of whoever happens to have found you organically through YouTube. So that's the first thing, but it works the other way as well by inviting guests onto your live stream, because then rather than you sort of being having an appearance on somebody else's show, someone else's live stream where their audience get to know you, then if you're inviting people onto a live stream on your show, on your channel, then there's the potential for them to be bringing their audience to you in that way. So with the live streamer backstage podcast that will be resurrected in the new year, this was I've only done 25 episodes of that, but obviously each one was an individual person where they came on and I interviewed them all about sort of live streaming and their live streaming setup. But in doing that, them promoting their appearance out to their social media following, then potentially that was a way to also bring in new folks to see the show, and then presumably if they were interested in the show with the person that they already followed, then presumably there was the opportunity then for them to subscribe, to follow along with the other folks. So those sorts of collaborations and guest appearances I think also impacted the sort of growth there to a certain extent. And you're basically getting to leverage, other people's audiences as well. And there's different ways you can do that. Some people reached out to me wanting to be wanting me to be on their show, I should say. And then obviously I was sending out invites to people to come along and be on my podcast as well. But you can also, be very active about, requesting, reach out to people who you would like to be on their show and send out requests in that respect. I'm going to be doing a lot more of that actually next year with the launch of my book, which should be out by the end of the year. We'll see. Should be out by December, really. But anyway, so to promote that, I'll be looking for opportunities there. So those things, though, were very much sort of in the first phase of my channel. I kind of think of it in two phases so far. The first phase where I was very active about creating my content, and as I say, I was aiming for that target of 365 videos in the year, and all these things that I've talked about were happening through that period. And that was basically from sort of May 2021 through to about May 2022. So the first sort of year effectively. But then I went through a stage where I wasn't really posting as much to my channel for a number of different reasons. But one of the reasons was I sort of shifted focus to look at, instead of the channel being the primary focus and everything else being in support of that, I was very much then thinking about it more as Take One Tech as the business, with YouTube being, an inbound marketing tool. I've talked about this on a previous live stream, all about, building out a content ecosystem where YouTube is just a part of that. But I did have this distinct shift. And at that point, I started thinking about, the other content that I was creating. So my courses, I've just mentioned many of those, and incidentally, that coupon code does apply to all of those courses individually as well. So Friday 23, that applies if you go to takeonetech.io/courses. You'll see here my Discord and YouTube beginners guides, the Ecamm, Zoom, Rodecaster, Stream Deck, Keynote, Masterclasses, and so on. Those are all live, 30% off those with Friday 23 as well. And then the Accelerator courses, so you can still sign up for the January version of the Kajabi Accelerator as well. But all of this content here, I made the Ecamm course last sort of April 22. The Zoom one came out about June 22. The Rodecaster was about September, October 22, or maybe November 22, and then the Stream Deck and Keynote ones have come out today, this year rather, as well as the Discord and YouTube guide, and I'm kind of working on these other ones in the background as well. So I did have this sort of shift of focus to be creating all of this other content. When I had more than just a couple of courses, then I was looking to create the Academy, to offer this on a subscription model. Some people, go down the route of doing just standalone courses for a long time, and then they regret not having a subscription model. Other people maybe stop the standalone courses and go purely with subscription. And arguably, from a financial point of view, from my point of view, that is probably the best solution, you know, to just have everything subscription based, and maximize the sort of the long-term revenue. However, I'm not doing that. I'm just offering still both, because I think that some people don't want to be tied into a subscription. They just want to buy, you know, one course or whatever. And so I don't want to sort of withhold the information from people who just don't want to take it on their subscription. There's lots of reasons why people wouldn't want to do that. So that's why I'm still allowing, you know, I'm offering both options. Hopefully with the subscription though, I'm offering enough additional value to make that a you know, a viable value proposition then, you know, with the one-to-one side of stuff, or the, you know, the group coaching and all that kind of stuff. So that's where I'm coming from with this. But in any case, this last sort of 12 months or since sort of May last year, I should say, has been this sort of shift of focus. And so that's why I'm thinking about this as a sort of second phase of the channel, because I have been really largely just doing this one weekly live stream rather than, you know, also another 6 videos every week. I am looking to return to doing more videos, but the interesting thing is that even though my my sort of content output has significantly dropped since that first 12 months on YouTube, the channel growth has sort of stopped. So it's not, it doesn't mean that now that I'm not sort of putting out as much content that the channel growth has tailed off. In fact, I'm still getting, you know, just increased views across all of those early videos. To put that into context, for the first just noticed Ecamm. It's just stopped my recording. Never mind, as long as we're still live. For my first sort of 7 months on YouTube, May to December of 2021, I actually hit the 1,000 subscriber mark at bang on New Year. It was literally 11:30 at night on New Year's Eve. So that was 1,000 subscribers in that time. Then in 2022, I added another 3,000, so I was up to 4,000 by the end of 2022. Right now, I'm on around about 8,500, and I can kind of see the rate. It's a fairly consistent rate of how many get added every day, give or take, you know, a few here or there. So I'm expecting to be on about 9,000 by the end of this year. So year one, basically 1,000 subscribers. Year two, it added on 3,000, and this one being the sort of the second full year. Third year though, is an additional 5,000 subscribers. So not only is the number of subscribers going up, but the sort of rate of increase of subscribers is going up as well. I'll talk about sort of plans for the future a little bit later, but that's just what I've sort of experienced. So very much this year has been about sort of building out the content ecosystem, putting in the foundations of the academy, putting in the foundations of everything that, you know, the YouTube channel is sort of an inbound marketing tool for. Obviously, I'm not holding back any of the information. I've talked about this many times before, but I don't ever put a thing on where I'm, you know, I'm only going to tell you part of the thing on YouTube, so that you've got to come and do a course to find out the truth or the full story. That's not how it works. It's a case of, you know, you put out all the free content, you know, sometimes your best content out on YouTube, but then the idea of the courses is that you have you know, a cohesive, structured program that people can follow. So information is free, but people are paying for the organization. They're paying for the other resources that they're getting. So that's the thing with that. But yeah, very much this year was focused on putting in all the sort of foundation, and I've got a couple more additional courses to add before I see that foundational layer is complete. I'll be adding lots more as we go forward, but for that foundation layer, there's just a couple more things to add in. The other thing this year that was a slight shift, not really related to YouTube growth as such, but to do with business growth, was that when I started, I wasn't really focused on, you know, growing my email list from the YouTube stuff. So I rarely had a sort of lead magnet associated with it. I was rarely sort of promoting anything else because I didn't really have much to promote in the early days in any case. But I had this sort of change where I was a lot more conscious about making sure that YouTube was driving the growth of the business rather than the other way around. So in the beginning, if you went to takeonetech.io, it was very much a YouTube website. So it was the website to support the channel. upcoming live stream, upcoming videos, recent videos, all of that sort of stuff. Whereas now if you go to my homepage, I don't really actually mention YouTube on the homepage at all. It's very much the Take One Tech business. YouTube is just a sort of path into that. Another thing then that I've done this year, which has definitely helped with channel growth, is and last year actually to an certain extent as well, is doing events and online events. So for example, on the Ecamm channel, pretty much all Ecamm at the moment, but there was the Ecamm Zoom workshop that I did in 2022. That was a series of over 5 days, 5 different speakers, and then we all sort of talked about some particular aspect of Zoom. But that was a way to build exposure or get some exposure, and also sort of build the email list by being able to contact folks after the fact as well. I've also done 2 further workshops on Ecamm's channel this year. So I did the Ecamm Advanced in February, and then I did the Ecamm Tools and Tech workshop earlier on this year as well. So again, this idea of sort of leveraging another audience or another company, another person's audience is something that definitely helps with that. It got me the opportunity to be in front of the Ecamm YouTube audience, and positioned as the expert there. Obviously they are giving me the stage, as it were. So there's sort of an implied trust and respect there. So that was definitely a way that I know that I got new sort of subscribers from that, because I see every time I do one of those, there's a distinct sort of spike in subscribers. But then also, people sign up to my courses off the back of that as well. So from a business point of view, it was good from that perspective as well. Then there is also another thing that is kind of similar to that, is giveaways. And I've done a couple of giveaways. I need to do more of those. I think that when you are doing these, you just need to be very conscious about exactly what it is you're giving away. It needs to be relevant to your content, relevant to your audience. There would be no point me, running some sort of gardening supplies giveaway that is absolutely nothing to do with my my channel. However, I did a Rodecaster giveaway earlier on this year. I did a Stream Deck giveaway the December before, so just 12 months ago. And the part of the process with this is, if you use a service like King Sumo is the one that I use, just because it's part of the AppSumo subscription. But that one enables you to do something where somebody enters their email address to enter the giveaway, but then there are ways that they can get sort of additional tickets, additional entries, if you like, by performing certain actions. So things like go and subscribe to my YouTube channel, go and check out my website, go and subscribe or follow me on Instagram or whatever. So you can set a whole series of different tasks for them to do if they want to do that, to get additional entries. And you can also assign, different numbers of entries to different things. So it means that you can kind of make things seem, more important. So, go and subscribe to my channel, 5 more entries. Go and follow me on Amazon, 5 more entries. You could make them like that. Whereas maybe go and check out, my podcast or something might be lower down the list. When I did the Rodecaster Duo giveaway, there were, I forget now, 18,000 entries. And 18,000 participants, I should say, in that giveaway. So that's 18,000 email addresses. But then there were also, when you look at those multiple different things that they could do, there were actually 970,000 entries. So what started out for me as, a Rodecaster Duo giveaway, because I already knew when I saw it that this was the ideal device for me. So I wanted to give somebody else one of them as well. That turned into 17,000 contacts effectively for my email database. And also, as I say, there were so many people then went through to subscribe on YouTube. Now, as I say, it's important that the content is relevant. So with all of those new subscribers, I was doing Rodecaster content. So I knew that if somebody was interested in winning a Rodecaster Duo giveaway, and I've got a load of Rodecaster Duo content on my channel, those were people who would likely be, stick around as well, not just subscribe for the giveaway and then unsubscribe. Obviously, some of them might not have liked my face and unsubscribed afterwards. There's always that possibility or certainty. But anyway, so it did have a definite sort of spike up at that point. Back to the events as well, though. This is something that I'm going to do for other companies as well. So I've got one coming up. I'm going to share this in the next sort of week or so. But just as I did the Ecamm workshops, then I'm doing this for a couple of other companies coming up as well. I also did, obviously, Ecamm's in-person event, the Ecamm Creator Camp. So I was running one of the workshops there with Daniel as well. And we were talking all about Zoom and Ecamm and so on. And once again, using advanced presentations with Ecamm into Zoom. So again, a workshop that was relevant. But yeah, these are all ways to just sort of increase your reach and get other people into your orbit, as it were. The other thing then is working with brands. So this is something that's happened fairly sort of organically over the period, and it didn't happen at all in the beginning. And then there was a point at which, brands started reaching out to me. And it's worth talking about this because I think it's something that, when you see people saying, oh, this company sent me this or sent me that, how do you get to the point where that is happening? And I can't say specifically, you need to be at this level, because it's going to be different in terms of subscribers, I should say, for every manufacturer and so on. But what I will say is that what brands are looking for, in my experience, is they're looking for people with an existing audience. Often they're looking for people who are already using their products, that they can see that they're already, fans of their products. And they've got an audience that is relevant to the product or service that they have to offer. Now, that isn't always the case. I do get people reaching out to me asking me if I want to try this or try that. And I've rejected far more things than I've accepted. So, for example, Rode reached out to me after I'd been using the Rodecaster Pro 2 for a year. I'd made a load of content on it. I'd made the course about it. And then I covered their new announcement of the Rode Streamer X and the Rodecaster Duo. And they just reached out to me to say, hey, we've seen all the content you're creating and we really like it. We'd like to, send you this thing to check it out. So that sort of happened sort of organically that way. It was the same with Elgato. They had seen, I'd been making predominantly, Ecamm and Elgato content on my channel, and so they reached out to me and sent me the Stream Deck Plus, for example, when it first came out. And a number of other different things that we've had conversations back and forth about, future collaborations and so on. So those kind of things happened sort of organically. I also get companies, though, that I haven't necessarily worked with that are contacting me. Like one of them would be, you can see one of them just behind me there, the OBSBot Tail Air. So they reached out because they'd seen that I was doing a lot of live streaming stuff and asked, if I'd be interested to try out the Tail Air and how that would look, what sort of how I would like to sort of cover that. Now, I'm only going to accept these kind of things from companies that, I have a great interest in their product, or I believe in their product, or, it's something that I think would be relevant. The Tail Air in particular was something that in one of my ongoing coaching clients that I've been working with for a long time now, they have a very particular use case where I could see that this could well be the thing for them. So that was my sort of thought process when trying this out, not to mention, it had great reviews from other people. So I was really interested to try it out myself, but I could see a very direct application. Another example would be YOLO Live. So they reached out and asked if I would like to test their YOLO InStream, which is their vertical streaming device for live streaming from this mobile device to, vertical platforms like Instagram and TikTok and so on. They actually contacted me to ask if I would like to test one of their other devices. And I said, you know what? There's one particular device of yours that I'm really intrigued by because it solves a problem that I know some of my audience have got. And that was vertical streaming to Instagram, because Instagram said a year ago that they were going to start rolling out live streaming to Instagram from a desktop app like Ecamm. They started doing it, but it's been a very, very slow rollout, and the majority of people still don't have that ability. The InStream device, though, allows you to stream from this standalone device. However, if you are using something like Ecamm, you can literally just plug an HDMI cable into the InStream, have your output from Ecamm going down that HDMI cable, and then you've effectively got a standalone bridge between Ecamm and Instagram to be able to do that. Not to mention just being able to stream from the field, as it were. And incidentally, InStream and 3 of those OBSBot cameras is a great combination too. So yeah, that was a case where they reached out to me and I had a specific product of theirs that I'd already heard about and was really intrigued about. I'm creating some content right now for a company called Veed.io. They make an online editing platform that I've been using to create my short form content. They contacted me to ask if I'd like to, look at doing a sort of paid collaboration with them where I created the content. And again, it wasn't a service that I used, but I said, well, let me try it. And then, if it's something that I'm comfortable with and comfortable with recommending, then I will recommend it. So that's just a little bit about the sort of collaborations that I've had. And there's been a number of other companies sent me stuff that I've not liked. I've not made the content about it. There have been other companies that have reached out to me, and it's just not something that I'm interested in. One of them made an alternative for the FetHead or the Cloud Lifter, and I'm sure which is, by the way, a sort of booster for a microphone to give you that boost in gain. So if you're using an SM7B, for example, with some mixers, people will say the gain is quite low, so you need some sort of booster in there. And they said, would you like to test this out? And I thought, well, I can't really test it out because I don't need one. So it was a kind of thing of I didn't have a microphone to test it with necessarily. I could put it in here, but I didn't feel that it was going to be right for me to be testing that. So sometimes I sort of reject things on quality basis, like I don't want to be associated with a particular brand. Other times I reject things just on the point of view that I don't think I'm positioned correctly, whether or not it's a great thing or not, to be the one to talk about it. So there's lots of reasons why I reject those. So I'd say that I've rejected far more of these potential opportunities than I've accepted. I also reject ones that say, hi, first name, we really like your content, we've been watching you with interest. It's like, oh dear, you've had an email failure and you haven't actually been watching my content at all. So there are those ones as well. So in terms of, let me just check in with the chat actually before I talk about sort of future plans as well. Hey Parker, great to see you here. Thank you for stopping by, and hello to you too. Rich, thanks for all the links that you've been dropping in. Neil, I found communities and networking has helped me so much in the last few months to slowly grow my channel. A lot of it's that, oh, thank you. I didn't read until the end and then now I've just read it, but thank you very much, Neil. That's great. It's really looking forward to seeing now I know that you've had a change of pace to focus more on the content. So I'm watching eagerly to see where this all goes, because I know it'll go to great levels with you, because just such a nice and knowledgeable person on all of this as well. So great stuff, Neil. Richard, hey to you too. There is Jeremy. Leveraging the knowledge of the group and contribute back often. That is exactly it. I mean, we are lucky really with the Ecamm Live community to have a community that is so sort of supportive of one another as well. I feel really lucky to have found Ecamm and found the community. Ryan, hey, hello, and great to see you here as well. Although I couldn't just say the word hello, I'll try that again. Hello, Ryan. What are your thoughts on doing a podcast? Do you have one, or is it worth it? For example, a video YouTube podcast or just an audio podcast? So I did start my live streamer backstage podcast last December, and I did 25 episodes of it over, was it December? It was probably earlier than that, October, November. I did 25 episodes of it, and I am going to start it up for another season the beginning of next year. And that was all about interviewing live streamers about their sort of journeys, and specifically how they were using live streaming as a tool in their business, because that's kind of my whole thing really is, I've got the YouTube channel here where I talk about, the tech, the stream decks, the roadcasters and all of that kind of stuff. But I'm very much focused on, in the academy, in my Take One Tech Academy, on helping people, use this stuff in their business. And so the purpose of the Live Streamer Backstage podcast was therefore, for me, relevant to my sort of core audience. There'll be people who watch my videos who only want to know how to do something on Stream Deck, or only want to know how to do something on a Rodecaster or whatever, and the video hopefully solves some problem there. But my core audience, I always think of being, business folks who are looking to use all of this tech in their business. And so live streamer backstage podcast, interviewing people about how they use live streaming as an inbound marketing tool, as a tool in their business, and then also looking at their setups. Now, the way that I actually ran that was I streamed it live to LinkedIn and also simultaneously to Amazon Live. Because on Amazon Live, you have the carousel where you can put in products and so on. So at the end of the show, the last 15 minutes was always focused on my guest live streaming setup. So I'd have all of the products that they use in there. So from an Amazon point of view, it was great as an Amazon show from that respect. Something a little bit different, people were on there shopping on Amazon, weren't, rather than it just being a regular sort of shopping show, as it were, just with product after product, they could actually see a real world use case and see people talking about how they're using this tech in real life. So that's why I thought it worked quite well on Amazon. Obviously on LinkedIn, it was there for, people were talking about using live streaming as a tool in their business. And I think a lot more people could actually use live video as a tool, as an inbound marketing tool, as a promotion tool, whatever you want to think of it as, for their business. So that's why I did it on LinkedIn. What I then did, though, was I took that live show and I added it as a recorded video up onto YouTube. So you can find all of those on my channel. As I say, it was something that I thought was relevant to my audience. I did sort of have a debate when I was thinking about whether to post it on my regular YouTube channel or not. Should I set up a different channel? But it was my little mentoring support group, or sorry, mastermind support group, I should say, the Creators Pod, and they sort of went like, duh, he says, of course, it should go on your regular channel because it's all relevant to all the other stuff. So I think that is a great thing to do. Obviously, the podcast side of things, it is a video podcast on the channel, but I did also, of course, release it as an audio podcast. And so, that again was something that was, a potential to bring people into the YouTube channel, and with the podcast being relevant to the content on the YouTube channel, a great sort of bit of cross promotion there. So I always used to say, in the audio of the podcast, obviously people were talking through the gear that they'd got. And at that point, I would always say, if you want to check out the pictures or the video of the guest's studio setup, then go and check out the video, and it will be linked in the podcast description. So definitely a good thing to do there. Hey, James, great to see you here, and thank you very much. James, I've got to say, you were certainly one of the early champions of my channel and my content as well, and I was the guest on your show, was one of the first shows that I was a guest on, so always appreciated your support and advocacy as well, James. I remember I remember well the time in the Let's Get Live Facebook group. Actually, you called out one of my videos and just said you've got to go and check this guy out. So I definitely have not forgotten that. Hey Dan, great to see you. Maybe a little bit late because of the time change. So the times never change in Thailand, apart from obviously incrementally a minute at a time. But the times don't change. So my live stream is at a different time depending on whether your clocks have changed, and all of my other things are. So there's always this 2 weeks of craziness around the time the clocks change. Why everyone can't just stay the same, I don't know. Want to join the academy, just don't have funds right now, and want to make sure I zero in on how to make the best use of it. No problem at all. Fully understand that. That's quite all right. Thank you, Rich. But if you ever need anything, you can always reach out. So if ever you need anything that I can help with, then I don't put stuff behind a paywall. If anyone's got any questions or anything, or just come and ask in the Take One Tech Discord server as well. That's a great place to get questions answered. So maybe I should probably pop that up here as well. So if you want to join the Take One Tech community, go to takeonetech.io/family. That will give you a link through to the Discord, and then anyone can go in there and just ask questions. It's free to join. It's free to join that. Are you late because of your kids? Yes, that's always an issue. But great to see you here anyway. Hey Dan, great to see you as well. And yes, everyone's back to normal. Had a, I won't go into it here, but yeah, had a quite the week of it this week since the last live stream. But anyway, it's all better now. So right, so let's just then go into. I've talked about these sort of two distinct phases as I see for my my channel, and I already talked about how yeah, the YouTube channel growth has been consistent in terms of steady growth. The rate of increase has increased. If you drill down into specific months or weeks or days or whatever, you will see that there are certain spikes, and these are definitely attributable to some things. So when I start posting regular content, guess what? I get a spike up in my my views, subscribers, and things like that. When I sort of go quiet for a couple of weeks because I miss out on a weekly live stream or two, then yeah, those numbers drop because I'm not getting the returning people of my existing subscriber base potentially, and also there's not that sort of new content coming out. So when I say that the growth has been steady, there is always these little peaks and troughs and things like that. But this is probably a good thing to say, a good point to say, whilst it's good to sort of check your stats and take a note of what is happening, it's definitely not good to sort of overly analyze these things to the point where you have a down day and then you're suddenly wondering why and trying to look to change everything. So always try and have a little bit of perspective on these things. I'm just looking away because I'm going to grab my YouTube stats. It probably, since we're talking about YouTube growth, it'd be worth at least having a look at least a chart or two to sort of show what I'm talking about with all this. So I'm just going to go to my analytics, and then what I'm going to do is talk about sort of plans for next year and how I want to grow things, because I will be shifting focus back to the channel again to a certain extent. So while this just opens, I might as well just go straight into that because yeah, the foundations for the academy is what I've been focused on this this year. As I say, building out those other courses, putting all the infrastructure in place. There's been a ton of stuff going on behind the scenes that isn't talked about, that isn't on public display, and so I've just been getting all of those different things in place. Let me go in here a different way. And next year, though, that will be in place, and I'll be focused more on actually driving people into it. So let me just come to this one, though. I'll show you where we are with the stats. So this is the chart for the last 28 days. So you can see that views steadily sort of going up. And I haven't really been putting out videos. Here you can see there's a video gone out there, and there's a video gone out there. But this is pretty typical, really. If you look at this span over a month, you're going to see that it just goes up like that. I know some people have these like hockey stick growths where they have some particular bit of content that just suddenly takes off, and then that's it. They're on a different trajectory. I've never really had that. I've had certain times when I've had peaks. So if I go to my lifetime, and we're still looking at the views, by the way, but you can see that you could basically draw a line of best fit through here, and it's going to be a pretty sort of straight line going up. But obviously, if you drill down into any one of these particular points here, you can see that there's the lines going sort of up and down, up and down, up and down. So when you look at it, on a over 3 months or whatever, you might see these sort of spikes. But as I say, don't pay too much attention to those, except to just notice what might be causing them. I mentioned that giveaway that I ran earlier, these spikes here. So where I had this massive jump up, that was when I was running the giveaway, and that caused this spike up. Now what I've noticed is, although this area down here looks really tiny by comparison, at the time, obviously, without this future data to reference, this was looking, the same kind of shape, just with lower numbers on the sidebar there. But what I will point out is that there were these distinct points where there was something that happened that caused a leap in my views or whatever. So here we were going along at this particular level, and then just about here, there was this sudden jump up where everything was in this sort of low, below 50, and then suddenly there was a jump up to 198 on this one day, and then it kind of settled down a little bit, but it never really settled down to where it was before. So I've had these consistent things, and then there was another one here. We stayed the same, just sort of steady growth, and then there was a jump up around here. and then there was steady growth again, and then there was another jump up around here. And so it's been this series, for me, it's been a series of sort of step ups like that. And, you know, in a year's time, these ones here that look massive in terms of the, you know, the change, these will just appear like little blips like they are down here. So that's been the way that I've experienced it. As I say, some people get these. Maybe I'm doing something wrong. I haven't got that sudden trajectory change, but I don't really worry about it. And one of the things then that has driven those is where I've been reacting to some specific news or whatever in my you know, content field or whatever you want to call it. So like when there was a new the new Rodecaster came out, the Rodecaster Pro 2. I made a load of videos all about it, and that caused a sudden spike up and got me a different sort of, maybe a new audience, whereas before I wasn't covering Rodecaster stuff. With Elgato Stream Deck, I was always trying to be, you know, at the forefront when there was a new update. People used to talk about me living in the future because I'm a few hours ahead, but the timing of it worked out really well for me in some respects, because I would see that there was an update come out for Stream Deck, for example. I'd make the video about it immediately, and for me it might have been in the evening, but it meant that when everyone else was waking up in the rest of the world, my video was already out there, and it was kind of one of the first when people were searching for this kind of stuff. So trying to be a little bit reactive to stuff that's going on in your orbit, in your, you know, your field, is also something that I think has helped me. I've sort of forgot to mention that one earlier, but it definitely helped with that. So hey Rich, I've just noticed that myself. Now that you said it, Richard just said, wow, almost 1 million views. I hadn't kind of noticed that sort of creeping up, but yeah, there it is. If lifetime of the channel, we're up to 908,000 views now. That is pretty nice. It's kind of mind-boggling if I stop to think about it. So I won't. I'll just move on. What's worth talking about here though, so subscribers as well. What you can see here is, whilst the views have been sort of taking those steps up, here is my subscribers, pretty consistent every day. I guess I'm getting around about between 10 and 20 a day is kind of what I'm getting. A few less on a couple of these days, actually. Between 5 and 20, let's say. Whatever. So that is still pretty consistent. This one here, look, this one where I got, and that's what's sort of skewing this graph, is this one little reading here, 168 in one day. That would have been when I was doing my Rodecaster Duo giveaway. So that's kind of skewed all of this this graph, actually. But the point to notice here, though, is if I go back to just like a 90-day, let's give this a bit better perspective. If I go back to a 90-day, that's what my subscribers look like on an average day, sort of increasing by that much each day. But if you go to the views as well, it'll show you on this timeline where your videos are. Here is where I posted a short. Here are a series of videos, and so it is directly related to, you know, when I'm posting, I definitely get spikes, don't I? You know, I can see that I've posted a series of 3 videos. I got more views because people were returning to watch my videos. So yeah, it's clear that if I post more content, then the views increase, the watch time increases, and all of that kind of stuff as well. So I said that I was going to talk about my plans for next year, because this was part of the reason that sort of drove the idea for this live stream. Was I've just been reflecting on, you know, where I am with the YouTube channel and the growth that I've experienced, however good that is. Like I say, I don't compare myself to anyone else. It is what it is. But I was thinking about 2024, and very much this year, as I say, has been putting in the foundations with all the content ecosystem, creating all the courses and stuff like that. And as I say, a lot going on behind the scenes. 2024 is really the time when I'm looking to sort of capitalize on that by, you know, promoting the courses in the academy a lot more than I have done. Because apart from talking about it in my live streams every so often and mentioning it, did I mention the Take One Tech Academy today? I think I did. But apart from doing it here, I don't really promote it as such. But next year is definitely going to be the time for me to get into promoting that a lot more. But I will be getting back to more YouTube content because, as I say, I've been really only doing my weekly live stream and a few extra long form videos here and there. So yeah, we'll be getting back to a lot more long form content actually over the next few weeks as well. I've got a lot of videos to make and put out. But I mentioned that the growth I'd had so far, I wrote those figures down somewhere. Let me just get this because I did write them down. So yeah, May to December 2021, 0 to 1,000 subs. 2022 added 3,000 subs to get up to 4,000. 2023 based on my sort of the incremental increase every day, I will probably have added 5,000 this year to get up to 9,000. I never set a subscriber number as a goal because I'm not in control of it. It's not something that I can actually control. Targets need to be and goals need to be, measurable and attainable and all this sort of stuff, but it needs to be something I'm in control of, and I'm not really in control of that as such. However, I always do have an idea in my mind of, where I'd like the channel to be. And it would be nice to get to the 20,000 or 15,000 by the end of next year. So that's adding in a considerably larger number of subs. It would be 5,000 this year. That would be, 11,000, over the course of next year. Is that doable? I don't know. That's why I'm not setting it as a goal. It's just sort of an idea I've got in my mind. But I do think that actually, if I get back to the regular content that I was posting before, starting from the level I am now, it seems to me to be something that would be attainable. So yes, that's kind of the idea that I've got in my head, and I'm just putting it out there so that we can revisit this next year. In order to deliver on this and some of the other things I'm looking to do, because I am going to be doing more content on other platforms as well, more short form content, but also more live streams as well. So I'm going to get back to doing my live streamer backstage podcast. That is a live stream in itself. But then I'm also going to do a sort of weekly tech news style program as well, and that will likely be on LinkedIn rather than YouTube. I'm still debating where to do that. I might well do it on YouTube as well. I'm not sure, or instead of. We'll have to see. But I want to focus more on. I want to focus some on growing on LinkedIn as well from a live video point of view. So I may well do that. Do that there. Incidentally, I did a live stream on this channel. I want to say about a month and a half ago, something like that, about creating a news style green screen scene, and that was basically me building out the thing or showing the thing that I'm going to use for that tech news update style show. And incidentally, the point of doing that is to also then clip out short form content from that to then post to short form platforms as well. Then also next year, what I'm looking to do is more of my my sort of events. So I did my Digital Stage Revolution event, which was intended to be a live in-person event in Dallas and also streamed on YouTube or done on YouTube. It ended up just being purely virtual, just because things came up. I couldn't actually travel for the extent that I was intending to. So it was purely a Zoom event in the end. However, that's something that I'll be refining and delivering in multiple different times next year as well. In person as well. So actually a live event in person as well as online as well. I mentioned rebooting my live streamer backstage or coming back for a second season of that. I've also got another podcast that I want to do, which is more just a sort of solo podcast of me talking about all the things that I talk about in the Academy, in the Digital Stage Revolution event, in my book, which is also due to be coming out. So all of the things that I talk about on my channel, all the things that I talk about in the book, in the Academy, in the event, it's all the same stuff. It's just in different formats and in different, to different depths, basically. So the podcast would just be another sort of avenue for talking about all of that same sort of stuff. But that would be something that I would record live and then do and then post that onto the channel as well. So more content there as well. And then also looking at other ways to sort of work with and collaborate with other creators, but also other brands as well. And incidentally, one thing that's been really, really interesting for me, because I'm a total geek and I love this sort of stuff. I mean, the reason why I might sound, like a little excited puppy about things is because I am, all the new tech. I really just love digging into it. And one of the opportunities that's come about, which has just been really, for me, I've really enjoyed it, is actually working with some of the tech companies and tech brands on the development side. So people have reached out to me to ask me for products, software and services on the development side to help them with that side of things. And that is just really something that I just relish the opportunity to do. So I've really enjoyed being a part of conversations with different brands about that sort of stuff as well. And I'm looking to do more of that just from a personal satisfaction perspective. I really love doing that. So those are my sort of plans for next year. Let me just check in. Hey, Marcio, am I pronouncing that right? I'm never sure. Great to see you here as well. Hey, David, great to see you too. Don't give away your brilliance for free. You see, I would kind of disagree with that, actually, because, as I say, I think that I'm not a fan of somebody where I'm not a fan of a marketing technique where people kind of just give you a little flavor of something and then, like everything else, you're not given the full picture. Especially, I know that this is not what you're suggesting, but especially when it is in like a sort of sales funnel scenario where someone says, download this guide, and they watch a free video, and then you say, download this guide, and it'll tell you all you need to know. And then you download the guide, and then they say, oh, but if you really want to know everything, you've got to do this course. And then if you get into that course, and if you really want to know everything, you've got to go on to the next level. Having everything always behind a paywall, I'm not so keen on. And I'm also a big proponent of actually just give it all away, because there are people that want to learn in different ways. There are people who book calls with me. If you would like to book a consultation, anybody, you're always welcome to do that. takeonetech.io/consultation. I only mention this now, though, because invariably somebody will book a call with me and I will respond with, hey, I've actually already made a video about this, and it explains this particular thing that you've got, this issue that you've got in detail. And always the person says, oh, I know, I've already seen that video. I just want you to tell me how to do it for my particular use case. So yeah, I'm all about actually just giving everything away for free, knowing that there are people who want the additional support, knowing that they want the structure of a course, knowing that they want the up-to-date information. I've got a 2.5 years worth of eCam videos on my channel. A lot of them are out of date now because eCam's moved on since then. So yeah, I appreciate the comments, and I know that isn't quite what you meant, but I am always aware of my the value that I have though as well. So that is just a little bit of a sort of insight into my sort of journey to get here, and sort of my plans for next year as well, in terms of the growth of the channel and where I sort of see things growing. But I do have to say, I never really judge myself based on anyone else. I know that there are people who have had faster growth rates, slower growth rates, different experiences and whatever. I'm just trying to do things, and get to the next step the best way that I can, and just try to improve on myself over that time. So don't necessarily be disheartened by anybody who's doing things faster or slower. I do certainly look at what other people are doing though, because there's always things you can learn. So it's not like I've just got the blinkers on and not looking at anybody else's content. I found that when I became a YouTuber myself, then suddenly everybody else's video became about so much more than the thing that I was watching it for. So now when I'm watching people reviewing gear or watching tutorials, I'm always looking and noticing the good things that I can take from those, in terms of the techniques that people have got and things like that. So it's not that I'm completely blind to everyone else, but I certainly don't sort of compare myself in that way. So there we go. Neil, I think it's important to give free advice. It helps build credibility and provides value and drives people to ask for paid future help. Exactly. It is, you're basically just, I'm using YouTube as a way to demonstrate my expertise. And if you think about the client journey, if you were looking, to attract clients, normally people are paying a lot for advertising. And when they are paying for advertising, they've got to grab someone's attention. Then they've got to take them on this entire journey where they, are evaluating you, deciding if you're the right person for the job, and so on. And then they get to the point where they maybe have a call with you to, establish if you're, you can help or whatever. And you've got to go through this sort of sales process. Actually, YouTube is just an amazing inbound marketing tool, because you have this way of people potentially being able to see, watch hours of you and have this feeling that they've got to know you. And as long as you're being your true authentic self in your videos, then yeah, it's a great way to sort of cover off a huge proportion of that initial steps that people need to take, so that when people do come through to either look at buying one of your courses or book a call with you, or take you up on your product or service or whatever, they've already gone through that, the majority of that client journey. And so it's just a case of almost, the transaction then when it comes to that point. I mean, I have discovery calls on my channel, on my website rather. So people can book like a 20-minute call to have a chat with me, figure out if I'm the right person to help them out. But most people don't bother with that. They just go straight into a paid call, or they go straight into buying a course off the website, because presumably they've already had the experience of me, through the channel. So yeah, it's definitely there. Yeah, this so it's not about giving everything away, obviously, but yeah, having the paid stuff there, it's just a different format, really. There'll be some people who will buy my book for $15 or whatever it is, and that gives them a huge amount of the stuff that I've covered for free on the channel, but it also covers a huge amount of stuff that I delivered in a $1,000 4-day event. So it's just different formats for me. That's the way I think of it. Different formats of the same content, and I think people know that. So with that said, that is all I wanted to cover in this session. If you've got any particular questions or comments or feedback that come up if you're watching in the replay, though, do feel free to either drop them in the chat here, or in the comments. I will say one thing that I find at the nearly 1 million views mark is that I do get behind on my comments. It's hard to keep up with them all. The best place to do it is definitely in the Discord server. So that's a much better place where you're likely to get a much more immediate answer to things. So definitely check out that. For those watching on the replay, I will go back at some point and leave a link to some other YouTube channel growth style content over here. And I want to say a big thank you to my channel members. I've got a couple more to add on to that, I've just realized. I'll get onto that today or tomorrow. Thanks so much. I'll see you all next time.